PR Connections Radio presents
the Crypto and Cash Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks. We are here to give you some great information today. My partner over there, Mr. Bret, the king of Bitcoin, the king of crypto. That man knows so much. Just look at it. I remember when he first got into crypto, he had more hair. No, just kidding.
You know what's funny about that, Dan, is I do a lot of tweets on Twitter. That's where a lot of the crypto community hangs out. I just made a tweet early this morning, and it shows a meme of basically every time that I sell, and then it shows what Bitcoin go up like 1,000%. Every time that I hold, it shows it just flatline the whole time. And then anytime that I buy, it sees it just tank down. And then I put above, I go, people say, oh, you're in crypto, you must be big ballin', which is the kind of the running joke because
that's funny.
Unless listen, if you're at a 5-year period, you're good to go. You've never come on the losing end. But, man, there's periods in between where it's going to be better to sell than to buy.
I told you my brother from another mother, man, because every time I do the same thing, exactly what you're talking about happens.
Yeah. I tell you, I always tell people, I'm the anti-cooler, man. If you need something to go the opposite direction, just let me buy into that coin. It'll start
wow, that's
away.
crazy. Well,
so
that's too much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's a little bit about us. We like to have a lot of fun on the Crypto and Cash Show, but we like to give you some great information. And before we get started, I'd like to just let you know that what we talk about here, we're in the crypto world. We're not here to entice you to trade. This is an educational platform and entertainment platform as well. So we're not going to talk about trading. We're going to talk about the basics of crypto, what's going on in the crypto world, how does that affect you, what's going to happen, and more importantly, we try to get into why you need to be in crypto. You need to start somewhere because it's not going anywhere. It's not because of the coins. It's because of blockchain technology. And blockchain technology is here to stay. Many people say it's going to replace the internet. We shall see. It is much safer. But my partner here, Bret, is an expert at that, and he's going to talk about that. We are both certified. And again, we're going to teach you the basics. And, you can always take a little further. You can go on YouTube. But be careful when you go on YouTube because a lot of those guys, man, they're in it for the money.
Yeah, that's the thing is anytime that I approach anything, I always approach it with the most skeptical eyes first. And it's kind of like, you need to prove me otherwise. Once I'm proven otherwise, I'm good to go. But especially YouTube, any social media, but YouTube, which is where a lot of educational, that's where I learned about crypto and blockchain. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of, I would say, don't really go by so much an influencer who's talking about coins or the market as much as they are somebody who's talking about the information about it and the information behind the market. I would say the number one guy to probably follow on YouTube, if you're going to, his channel is called Coin Bureau. And Coin Bureau, this guy is, I've learned so much just about finance and money and just, with banking just in general, let alone the regulations of so he'll like this last week, he literally took the bills that are being proposed by Congress and breaks it down to all the important parts in bulletin points. So it's very easy to understand. It's a very knowledgeable channel, all the way from learning about blockchain to crypto to the markets and everything in between. But there's a lot of people, I'm not going to rip on anything about the younger kids, but they're about Flash and this and that, and I'm not about that. As I'm like you, I'm here for the technology. So, to kind of get back to what you first mentioned, which is blockchain is going to be something that's going to be implemented into every single business in the next probably 5 to 7 years. And cryptocurrency, in a sense, is just a way to facilitate value on the internet. So instead of needing to have a middleman for everything, you're able to facilitate value, whether it's data or information or money, and cryptocurrencies and all forms of those. It's being able to facilitate it and have it flow on the internet, So
absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, so, you know, to give you an example of blockchain is like, let's say Walmart. Walmart has a supply chain of all the food distributors from different farms, right? They'll get chicken from this farm, or they'll have a certain number of farms where they get the broccoli from, or lettuce, or whatever it is. So say there's an E. coli breakout, and there's an E. coli breakout in some of their lettuce. They're able, through blockchain and keeping track of it through blockchain, to be able to understand exactly what farm it came from, at what time, at what batch. So they're able to get right to the root of it and deal with that situation. That's just one form of how you can facilitate blockchain, which is basically it's for facilitating data back and forth, you know? So
yep, absolutely. Well, you know what? We're here to give you information. And I told you I'm going to start off a little bit. And I'm just going to read a little bit about, I found an article online about some legislation, which is going to affect all of you, because if you're getting into the crypto space, you need to know what's going on. But this is from an online article. The U.S. House Financial Services Committee and House Agricultural Committee will put together legislation to oversee the crypto sector in the next 2 months after holding joint public hearings starting in May, said Representative Patrick McHenry of North Carolina, chair of the House Financial Services Committee. When asked whether such a bill could be signed by President Joe Biden in the next 12 months, McHenry told a crowd of CoinDesk's Consensus 2023 event, yes, the key lawmaker was quick to provide a rider that it's always a challenge to legislate something new into existence. What we plan to do over the next 2 months is report a deal out, McHenry said. He added that the bill will address both securities and commodities regimes and issues that are hard to fix on either side. Senator Cynthia Lummis, Republican, the other panelist during the session, said she looked forward to coordinating these efforts with McHenry, adding that the House of Representatives had a better chance than the Senate of getting legislation through earlier. She said if the White House moves first on crypto, it would improve our chances in the Senate. We have tried to keep it partisan tinge off of this subject, because that's always a problem, Loomis said. This is a bipartisan subject we need to address before the 2024 election, so on and so forth. I'm just going to leave it at that, but legislation I think it's good. What's your opinion on that, Bret?
That's part of why I believe we've ended crypto winter and are heading into the next bull run. But when I say that, it's not going to happen overnight. You know, what I mean that is the 200-day trend of a downward trend, it's gone above that now. So now we're above the 200-day trend and the moving average on it. So there's a lot of things where, in my mind, what happened the last year needed to happen. You had the bad actors exposed, and bad actors always need to get exposed. Yeah. Bad actors are bad for people who are for it, and obviously bad actors bring to the table what people who are already against it want, right? So it's just nothing good about it. But you got exposed with the bad actors, and then at the same point, you had the government and Gary Gensler, who's the SEC chairman, start getting absolutely ridiculous, requiring this and that, having a Wells Fargo notice called upon them, all these different things, and really not defining anything, and kind of, they have a set of laws that they need to follow, and they're basically using their own guidance to choose and pick whatever laws they want to apply and not to apply to a lot of people. And all that came to a head. And then a few weeks ago, you had Gary Gensler get in front of the Senate. And I don't know if anybody watched it, but they ripped him a new one. Republicans, Democrats, and everyone in between. And because here's the thing, man. What's happening and what's going to continue to happen in full force if we don't do something is, at the end of the day, people can say what they want about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but the end game behind all of these things are the technology. And so that was distracting me there for a second.
Sorry about that. Let me turn my volume down here. I'm sorry.
So anyways, the end game of that is blockchain. And I completely lost my train of thought.
Oh my God.
Just mute it.
Yeah, I'm turning it off. Yeah, I got it muted now. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
But we're talking about the legislation, what's going on. And Gary Gensler, I saw that. They were tearing him up.
Yeah, they ripped him big time. So what you're getting is you're having all these companies that are going to want to go overseas with the technology. And you obviously can't have that happening. And Senate's getting sick and tired of it, So everybody says we need to have a set of rules and regulations in place so that people have a guidance to know what they can do and what they can't do. They just can't be floating in space, and then you can't pick and choose. So
yeah, that is so true. Well, it's going to happen, man. And I really believe that the judge is going to come down hard on them in the XRP case, because like you said, he's over the top what he's been doing. It's just like he's supposed to represent the best interests of the public, and he has not been doing that. All he's been doing is fine. I understand that he's a Goldman Sachs guy, so their thing is they don't want to lose that power. And a lot of the things that he's doing, I think, is to protect the rich, not just the average everyday investor.
That's the problem. It's to protect the rich, but the problem is the future's coming. Yeah. And he would be wise to at least say, I need to bridge the gap between two parties, Yep. So to me, it's kind of like, hey, man, if you want everything to switch over to electrical cars, take the oil company and have it so that they're the number one profiters or one of the top dogs for the profiters in whatever the new energy is.
Right.
They'll have it switched overnight. But the thing about it is Gary Gensler is on YouTube teaching blockchain at MIT, and he even admits that there's really only a few select companies that fit the criteria, and the rest aren't securities. He even admits that in his class in 2018. And now he gets SEC chairman, and he's basically saying the opposite. It's absolutely crazy.
I totally agree. I've seen that before. I've looked him up, and a lot of people were excited when he was going to take over the SEC chair because he understands crypto.
I was
too. I was like, we got a crypto guy coming in here.
Man, he's created. Here's the thing: crypto and blockchain is not going to be. It's turned the corner too much. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
So. What side of history do you want to be on? I guess that's kind of the way I look at it.
Well, I think it's already been decided what side of history he's on, man. The way they're tearing him up over in the Senate and in the House, my God, they were on him, and it looked terrible. He couldn't answer the questions, or he wouldn't answer a lot of the questions. He would just and one of the senators was like, "Didn't we just go over this in my chambers right before we came out here? And why aren't you going over what we talked about?" And he refused to answer. So I was like, "Oh my God, that's terrible."
Yeah,
so,
that's when someone's in pockets, and it's I mean, listen, I understand, that the powers that be or that run things, and I'm not like an anarchist, right? Where I'm like. Right. We need to get rid of everything, because then I always say, when people say that, is okay, so what? We're going to replace it with what? Who are we going to have run things? Like, things still need to run. Things still need to go.
Right.
And, everybody's standard of living is going to drop to a third world country in a second if that happens. So It's not just, the idea sounds great and hoorah, but I mean, you need to have like an organized chaos, or not that, but implementation of ideas and implementation of new people is what it takes. I mean, if you look at the course of human beings, we can't handle, like, they couldn't just have aliens appear right now in Las Vegas and meet and greet. Like, humans wouldn't be able to handle that. So they're slowly releasing that UFO files. They're slowly saying, first we admit that we think there's some UFOs. Then, then release some UFO file, unexplained things. And but that's how you have to do it, man. You can't just drop a bomb on people. We will flip out. And it's so if you think about it, like crypto and Bitcoin, it's still a bit off, but it's slowly slipping in there. But I'm right about that. That's how we are. We can't handle it.
Hey, Bret, I've been to some events in Las Vegas. I thought the aliens were really here.
Yeah, man, well, this town, they're all over. They're all over this town, trust me.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's, that's kind of the way that people work. And which is the same reason why, if you look at like the laws of innovation, it's like a bell curve in a sense where you have the very early adopters here, and then it goes up like this and then down like this on the other side. And at the beginning are people like you and I, right? Where you and I are standing in line at the Apple store for 4 or 5 hours waiting for its release for the new iPhone, when you and I could just wait 2 more days and not have to wait in line. But we want to say that we're the first to do it. We want to be the first to do it. We want to be the first to try it. And then all the way on the other end of the spectrum is you have the laggards. These are the people who would still be using rotary phones if they could. You know what I mean? So at that tilting point, historically with humans, is between probably 30 to 35%. No, I'm sorry, between probably 25 to 27, 28%, I believe. Roughly around there, give or take a little bit, is that tipping point. Once you get to that tipping point, you've now crossed over to something that the majority has now caught on for, and it's just going to propel all the way up. And it's going to eventually catch the people on the very end, on the other side.
It's funny that you say that about the people who some people, there's a percentage of people who would still prefer to use like the rotary phones. My wife and I, this past Saturday, we went to a concert, right? And it was the Stylistics. They're back from the 70s. Yeah. And they're like the Temptations, old school. And I was in line, right? I was going to grab my wife, a Coke. And when I came back, she said, do you know, I just watched the people walking through. And normally you go to the concerts that are, the groups are much, younger. Yeah. Right. So everybody comes in on their phone, right? So you got your tickets on your phone. She said, you know how many people walked in here with the printed tickets? Just printed. You can see them just walk. I was like, you're right. I looked around, man. It was they were like, hey, this is the way we know it, old school. So you're right on the money on that.
Yeah. So, like taking your phone and opening up your screen to your camera, and then taking a picture of a code, a URL code that's captured right on there. That's basically how you pay for crypto. That's how you pay things with crypto. Right. Like people understand that, so the Lightning Network is a payment system that's an offshoot of Bitcoin. By that, I mean, Bitcoin is still the blockchain and Bitcoin is still the coin, but this is like adding an addition onto another computer protocol layer on top of it that facilitates it for payments to be super quick,
right,
and super cheap, right? So it's like you have your bars of gold, you don't take them to the grocery store and pay for your groceries with your bars of gold. Right. You pay for them with something that's fast and quick and easy to use, which is like your debit card. That's like the Lightning Network for Bitcoin, okay? But it's essentially have your phone, just like now, if you scan for tickets or do events, like you go to these Web3 conferences with me, it's on your phone and you just bring it up and, you bring up your camera and you scan down, boom. And and that's how you pay for it. Just like that. You don't have to do anything other than bring up your phone, scan, deep, done. See ya. Have a good day.
Yeah. Not only that, with the conferences like that, they're going to have the entire agenda on there. Yeah. And they're going to give you notices that, hey, this this expo or this seminar is starting right now. Everything is done on the phone.
And that's the thing, you know. So everybody who's younger knows that routine that I just said about picking up your phone and putting your camera on, scanning it, boom, and you know, whatever it is, whether it's tickets or it's different events or whatever it is. So there's going to be older people who just won't do it, but it's not because it's not because it's hard to understand. Anybody can do that. That's just not what they're familiar with their routine.
Yeah.
Right? So being able to use that and do that is super simple. But if that's what you've grown up with and the world you've grown up with, it's a no-brainer. Don't
you think that this is what we're talking about? Don't you think this is something that people are going to have? Because when they come out with the the digital coins for each country, I mean, how are they going to operate without having that?
I mean, I think a lot of cryptocurrencies are going to be a way to pay for things online. Yeah. So if you want to be able to facilitate anything, whether it's simple transactions or it's a subscription to a website for whatever it is, or it's to pay for services on this and that or whatever it is.
Right.
I think it's going to be different cryptocurrencies that you do that with.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, all the different countries they're all developing their own CBDCs, which stands for the digital coin of that particular country. And
central bank digital currency, yeah.
That's what it is. And with that, a lot of people who are stuck on cash or sitting on cash, I personally think the value of cash is going to go down, down, down. You got other countries like China and Russia and BRICS trying to put together consortiums to, make the dollar not the king of the road anymore. Mm-hmm. It's going to be very interesting in the next 5 years how things turn out.
I mean, people need to understand that any country's central bank digital currency that they create does nothing to improve their economy.
Right.
All it does is allow your government to completely track you. Oh, you did not to use this for example, and I know it's a touchy subject, but you didn't get vaccinated? Sorry, we're shutting down your bank account. Or I saw one where someone goes to pay for something with their phone for their groceries, and they go to scan it in, and it pops up and says, "You have left some unlawful or untruthful information on Twitter. Please delete that before it allow payment." Like, that's different things that can happen. So it doesn't make your dollar, like the same BS that backs up any dollar right now, fiat system, is the same. It's BS. In fact, the definition of fiat means government-backed money. It doesn't mean gold-backed money. It means government-backed money. As in, the government says, we deem this valuable.
Right.
So why is one government more valuable than the other government? And now we're talking about the placement in the world, and more importantly, which I always say, comes down to military. Because you can never tell us what to do. We will always tell you what to do. And that's the fact. So as long as that remains the way it is, we're good. But as we mentioned before, the world order will be changing. And I'm not saying anything drastic and Armageddon overnight or anything like that. But I'm just saying there's already evidence of other countries trying to facilitate trade, whether it's gas or oil or whatever it is, without using the American dollar. Why? Because nobody wants to have to be reliant on somebody. Like if someone's reliant on you, that can be and always is a one-way street sooner or later.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're getting late in the show. Weren't there a couple points that you wanted to touch on when it comes to what's going on with Bitcoin and the marketplace? And what is Bitcoin at today? Did you notice? Did you take a look?
It was at like 20. It just dropped below 28,000. It's 27,000 actually. I think it's 27,000. So, crypto winter is still over, and Bitcoin is still a great buy. Maybe just not today.
Yeah.
So a lot of the sentiment is that it's going down to 25,000. So in the last 3 months, Bitcoin has doubled in price. It's gone up over 50%. So, things don't go from 0 to 100 overnight. It resets itself some. So it went up to 30,000, I think 31,000, and it slowly trickled around between 29,000 and 31,000. And now it's slowly been trickling down, first 28,000, now 27,000. And so a lot of people think it's going to go down to probably the 25 mark. I'm not quoting anything or say do or do not anything, but probably around the 25 mark. It could go 25,500 and then go back up. I mean, I'm not saying, but overall, it's off the decline and is now back into that upwards momentum. But I would say you're not going to feel the true effect of when things are all systems a go until probably next summer. And when that moment happens, everybody will know. Everybody will know. Because Bitcoin will go from like 40,000 to 80,000 in like 2 months.
And one of the keys to that is what we talked about earlier. When they have crypto, when they have the legislation and there's actually rules about crypto.
And that's the thing. So they're acting like they're finally, before you had the bad actors and you had no legislation. Nobody knew what to do. Everybody was, you're not going to stick money into establishing and growing something if you don't know what the rules are. If you start growing something and they can shut you down.
Right.
So now they're coming in and they're establishing basic rules and regulations, and that's all anybody wants. Okay, now we know what the playing field is. Now let us start building. Right. But you want to keep it here.
So that just brings me back to the point when they were grilling Gary Gensler. Oh my God.
He's going to be out there. There's going to be a new administration in, and I'm not even if it's Democrat, I don't think it'll be Biden.
No, I don't think so either. But they need new blood out there, man.
Yeah.
They really do. I'm not trying to be political or nothing because I'm an independent. I'm not a blue or a red guy. I'm a people guy. What's best for the people?
I'm who's ever best for me.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. There you go. Well, I think we covered quite a bit. We're getting closer to our end time, everyone. Again, we will be here in 2 weeks, the Crypto and Cash Show. My partner, Mr. Bret Jenny over there. I'm Uncle Dan Everett, and we're here to educate you. Hopefully make you laugh a little bit as well. But, you got to take this, the crypto world and Bitcoin, and you got to have a little fun with it a little bit. Don't freak out on this stuff. It's just like people freaking out on AI. It's the end of the world. Yeah. No, you can't tell the computer if you don't have the prompts with AI, it's not going to work. So we got a ways to go with that, everybody. So Bret, I'm going to call you right after the show because I have a question for you on a related issue. And awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for today. We want to encourage you to come back. We'll be back here next Monday live at 2 p.m. Pacific. Crypto and Cash Show is my partner, Bret Jenny. I'm Uncle Dan Everett. Have an awesome week. Thank you.